Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio. An absolute pleasure to be with you, talking all thing Hong Kong racing with the Hall of Famer in RS Dye and also the best analyst in the business in Clint Hutchison. And Hutch, well, we started in style. There was a lot of rain around.
Oh my God.
The track played well considering over 800 mils of rain.
Oh, it was unbelievable, Richo, to be racing on the surface that we were. I had it down as sort of, it was good to yielding officially, but really remarkable. Only a few lengths sort of outside standard, effectively. So, I mean, that's the real attraction of Hong Kong. But we don't want any more rain. No more rain, please. It makes it pretty hard. But that's a good meeting on the weekend.
Yeah, really looking forward to Sunday. Shane Dye, our superstar Hall of Famer, is, of course, a key part of our show. RS, what did you make of last week?
It was great racing considering the rain. It's very hard to do the form. I favoured front runners in the end and got off the back markers, although they could run on. I really wanted to back Victor, the winner, the way the track was with 115 pounds, but I stayed out of the race. I thought he was vulnerable when I saw the track with the big weight. It just doesn't affect big weights on rain-affected going when you got a horse like that with 115, but he still run well, Lucky Schwers. But it was a great day's racing. Good way to start.
Yeah, it certainly was. So trying to pick your way through from a betting strategy point of view, Hutch, you went straight away with, due to the amount of rain, it's only a limited betting investment. You picked a couple of nice winners, though.
Yeah, we did. We had a couple of nice performances there on the day, but it does make it a little difficult. But that's why as well, when we put up our early rated prices, that we do tweak them a little bit. There might be conditions on the day. We also factor in, you know, when there's some liquidity in the market. Nice performances from Champion Method, who beat Ruby Sailing, who we really like. We've got All Is Good. When the rain came, he had to shorten in. I think we had him a bigger price on the show, but he's had wet track form from last season, so that's why we do adjust things along the way. Hamron was really good during the week. I like that win. It was a very confident ride from a young guy in form, and got a little suspension for that ride, but he's going pretty well. We'll hear more about that later in the show. As always, we'll give you all the latest news out of the gates, and of course, Sweet in Defeat file, where Hutchie finds a few future winners. Of course, Genius or Slaughter, as we try to go towards the Idol, most importantly. This is all the talking point.
Votes for the Idol is what everyone is talking about. We've got a very special guest in Vincent Ho. So a huge show, but first, let's burst out of the gates. We burst out of the gates through the international lens, and let's go back to Leopardstown, Hutch, because the Irish Champion Stakes was run and won. And Auguste Rodin, of course, the Derby winner who failed in the King George, dropped back to the 2,000 metres. Well, Jerry Hannon, the caller, got a little tongue-tied. He loved it, but it was a super win.
It was the money was quite interesting for him, wasn't it? There was a lot of late support for Auguste Rodin, and the money was spot on, of course, with Ryan and Aidan taking it out. But he's not an easy one to get right, Shane. I mean, he's a very hit-or-miss kind of horse. He seems to win, or he's beaten a furlong. I don't know. He's got my head scratching a little bit.
There's no place betting him or each way betting him. It's either a win or nowhere, as you said, Clint. Like, he was very good in the Derby, and he was very good there against the older horses. So I think he runs again next week, doesn't he?
Yeah, wait and see that. So they consistently look at trying to space his runs. I think that might be one of the keys to him. But we wait there with great interest. That rated amazingly. So he's up eyeballing Equinox, if you don't mind. Whether he's that, I know ratings are one thing and international ratings.
I think what happens we see in Ireland and England, they rate them too highly often. We saw what Equinox has done to them early in the season. Enough said there. Enough said.
Full stop there. Hey, we built up the Hong Kong season as the battle between Zach and Hugh, Purton and Bowman. And what are we, two meetings in? 3 apiece.
Trading blows, aren't they? I mean, you know, we heard from Huey last week, and he's got his mind focused on 100 winners. He said, I can't beat Zach, and I think it's a fair assessment. But Hugh, if he can ride 100, will do very well. Only 3 jockeys have ridden 100 plus in Hong Kong, and he came out of the blocks really well. I thought Zach's ride on Supreme Lucky was fantastic as well. But yeah, they dominated there. I actually think, Shane, we've had a nice spread of jockey winners. I mean, you know, Zach had a lot of good rides on the first day. Probably not so much on Wednesday. He didn't seem to have a great book, but I've been pleasantly surprised in how it's been spread out at this early stage.
Everyone's riding pretty well, I felt. I've given quite a few rides this weekend, as you'll see later on. I didn't think there was too many bad rides. I'm going to subtract a point later on from someone too, Richo.
Oh, good. I like the sound of that. Yeah. Androni
I'm liking this.
Has hit the board early.
Yes.
So also the new jockeys, you want to make an impact early. And you actually also flagged Brett Nevdulla's in for a big season. Yeah. He's also got to win.
Well, he's been getting reasonable rides, but you've got to hit the back of the net, which is exactly what he's done. He did it with Golden Cena in the final race. Of course, this is a Valhalla, Keegan DeMilo. Well, hey, Shane, he went inside there and Zach said, I don't think so. You're not coming up my inside.
Yeah, well, the race was set up for him after these two took each other on and went too fast. And he was the only other chance in the race once Thunder Hedge came out, and it was a strong win. And this was a very good ride, because he didn't bustle him too much out of the gates, and he took a sit on him. And he had him very relaxed and he was very strong in the finish. So that was a very good ride also.
Didn't look out of place on Andrea. He's had a little bit of experience in Hong Kong. So really important for those two guys, Keegan and Andrea, to kick off with a winner. So because sometimes you find you get there in Hong Kong, and even if there used to be back in the day, 2 or 3 club riders that had come in at one time, and there was always one that struggled. You know, there might be one that flew, one that went okay, but both boys are off the mark, which is great to see. And
Shane, the big talking point from Sunday was the clash between Victor the winner and also Lucky Sweynesse. Now, take us through the race. What were you thinking during the running? A 20-pound differential on a rain-affected track, and Victor the winner was just simply too fast.
Well, as soon as they went 100 metres, I wanted to be on Victor the winner. The other horse had no hope of winning from where he was. But Zach gave him a perfect ride, I felt, and the right ride for the future. With 135 pounds, he couldn't bust him out of the gates and go forward. It would have busted him. And he still come home, I think, in 21.64 with 135 pounds. So he did not go bad at all, Lucky Swears. Come International Day, there's no way the other horse will be beating him. So I thought he gave him a good ride. There was nothing wrong with his ride. I wouldn't have bustled to go forward. It was first up. He had missed work, and a lot of people said he should have bustled him to go forward. Not first up like that. I would have probably ridden them the way Zach did.
Shane, do you even think that they've gone 25 seconds that first section? So my only question to you is, and I can see what you're saying, I agree with it. I was surprised to see Lucky Sweynesse in the race. But are they really giving him a hard time if you're pushing him early in the early stages and they're going that slow through the first 400? I mean, it was pedestrian. And like you said, he couldn't win after that. So he had his mindset what he was going to do. But is it really that hard a run for him if he does that?
Okay, I was probably one of the best there was on good horses first up, right? I used to look after them. If they have a gut buster and do too much early in a race, you could lose them for the season. And I've seen it time and time again. I remember a very good horse, Cox Plate winner. He come back, he had his first run back. And I actually run someone connected with it. I was in Hong Kong and he ran second first up. I said, that horse is gone. And he said, what? He said he went enormous. I said, he said, too hard a run first up. You can't do that to that horse. And I'd never ridden the horse before. Well, guess what? He was gone for the season. He never come up after that. And the bloke then rang me back. He said, Jesus, I couldn't believe you telling me that, and you were right. I said, they can't do that first up. I see it all the time. He had a perfect run, and Lucky Swears for the future. Look, even if he had gone forward, Clint, I don't think he would have beat the other horse anyway.
I agree with
you.
I
really don't.
Yeah.
Well,
he ran.
I'm annoyed at myself for not backing Victor the winner.
It's a fair call.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
I was. I was sitting at home saying, I've got to back this horse.
Yeah.
On the wet track with 115 pounds, and he's going to get a soft lead. There was not one horse that could take him on, and it was just his race set up for it. And I couldn't bring myself to do it because I love Lucky Swears so much, and I thought, I'll watch the race, and it was... I let my heart rule my head.
Yeah, emotion took over. But it is interesting. I mean, we backed, I think, last year, our subs, Victor the winner, when he actually got taken on. And it was a very good run that day. They were both at the peak of their powers, and Zach had the run of the race. But it just also shows the different race shape. If you get an easy time in the lead, and he might have come back better too, Shane. I mean, I know there's a big weight swing with him, but he's a pretty handy horse, Victor the winner. I think he does look that next level. He's got to improve again to be competitive.
I blame you.
Yeah, well, boys, we discussed it on the show. I brought it up with you last week. That run last year wasn't bad, Victor the Winner, and he got taken on and really taken on. He had no hope of winning. This race was totally different. There was no pace in it, and we spoke about it last week. And that's what happened. He got an easy time in front, and he quickened. I think he came home in 21.4. Well, there'll be hardly a horse in Hong Kong all season that'll break that for the last 400. So how was Lucky Swears with 135 pounds on a wet track going to do it? It's impossible. Come International Day, I can't see Victor the Winner measuring up with Lucky Swears. It'll be a different ball game.
Okay, so we keep our eye on both of them and we learn some lessons, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. We try to learn some lessons from those in the past. And the question we want to raise this week is we've seen a lot of favourites at the moment, Hutch and Shane, missing the kick at the start. Why are they doing that? And also, what are the tactics of the jockey when they do miss the kick?
Well, it's really important. And in the last week, I think we had a few in Hong Kong, and a very notable one, of course, in Australia, where you had Giga Kick here, and it's been all the talk, and we'll get onto that a little bit later. But Greenwich backs up this week. Now, he missed the start. He's $1.60. We had Denfield miss the kick on Wednesday. Huge run, $1.50. And Superb Catalyst wasn't in the market, but he had an impact in the race. But we have had... It is something I think that really is worth talking to. I mean, we've had these very short price favourites, and it shows how hard it can be to make up, Shane. And, you know, in terms of missing the start, I've heard you often say horses miss the start, jockeys don't. I just want to investigate that a little bit more.
Okay. The best one I used to have is when you miss the start, you come in, the trainer goes, why would you miss the start? Because I wanted to. I sit in the gates wanting to miss every start. That is just ridiculous. You don't want to miss the start. You want to be first out. But horses miss it. And there's a race up here, Richo, when I had a look, and it's, if we, what's this one?
Oh, this is Giga Kick and behind Imperatriz.
That didn't matter. He gets back anyway. Look, when horses get back, it's irrelevant. Right?
Okay, but what isn't irrelevant is this mid-race move, breaking 20 seconds from the 800 to the 400, Shane.
Look, we don't even need to comment on it. It's been that much written about it. Everyone knows it was a bad ride and he took off too soon when he was following the horse to beat. He should have stayed behind it. Yeah. But we know that. It's a waste of time talking about it, you know.
The Kiwi sprint is pretty good, though, and Imperatriz there as well, Shane. I'm surprised that she's got an unbelievable winning record.
Oh, she was sensational in New Zealand racing. Like when she went to Randwick first up, I had a big bet on her because I knew how good she was. I think she ran second that day. She was wide and back the whole way. And I was shocked she got beat. And someone rang me before the race and saying, what do you think? I said, well, it's going to be hard to beat Giga Kick, but this thing's a superstar. It's the real deal. And she proved that, and whatever she runs in, she's going to be very, very hard to beat. But getting back to Giga Kick, the thing that was bad was it was a first up, we know that, and he should have just followed the other horse. There's no more that needs to be said. That horse has had a gutbuster first up.
Yeah, we watched with great interest. What about Greenwich, though, missing the kick? And what do you do when you do miss the kick as a jockey?
Okay, well, we'll play this, and I want to show why he missed the kick. If you watch him in gate 6, have a look at his back foot. See how it's off the ground? So he's only on 3 legs, and they jump. So when a horse jumps, he needs his 2 legs, 2 back feet to think. So that's why he missed the start. Now, that wasn't Zach's fault at all. It wasn't the starter's fault. It wasn't the attendant holding him's fault. It was the horse's fault. A jockey doesn't know he's got a back foot up like that, and it's very, very evident. So he shouldn't have dug him a little bit when he jumped, and he probably still wins the race. But you just do not dig a horse once they miss the start. You leave them alone, and you sit last, and you save all their energy for a sprint home. But, you know, that horse, he got a bit of a squeeze out of the gate. Fair.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to ask you as well, Shane, when a horse like Denfield doesn't jump that well, and you often see it at the start, so you just miss it that little bit. You might only miss it half a length. But there's a void in the middle, and the horses either side, more often than not, you see will take up that gap, will take up that room, and then you can get squeezed at the start as a consequence. And there were a couple impacted actually in that race.
Well, this horse here, Supreme Catalyst, he can always miss the start. Sometimes he jumps unbelievable, but he's not a good barrier horse, this horse. I've seen him miss it like that a few times, even though he's got great speed afterwards. And that's what set him back last year, because he had a couple of gut busters when he missed the start, and they dug him up to lead, and it ruined him, you know. And he's not a bad horse, this. He'll win races. But listen, when you miss the start, you can't dig him. You just got to leave him alone, because you get them into their stride and they can still win. See, if you have a look at Greenwich, when he missed the start, he didn't dig him much, but he just dug him a little bit, and he got too keen. And he started to pull after 200 metres. If he'd left him alone completely 3 lengths last, he would have picked up at the half mile and probably still won the race, because he lost that energy early on. He spent more energy than he should have earlier on. But in saying that, it's very hard to do when you're on $1.50, $1.60 chance, and you know the short, and you jump out and you go, oh my God, no, you know he's a short price favourite, it's unbeatable, and things have gone against you. But listen, you've seen in those circumstances, it's not the jockey's fault for missing the start, it's the horses.
Okay,
but I get sick of people saying it's the jockey's fault. It's definitely not.
Okay, I take that on board, and I have to agree with it. Generally, Shane, I've got one more question though.
Yeah.
We often see, I mean, some riders aren't great out of the gates. Some are very good. So
100%. Jamie Carr's very good out of the gates. Felix Kutsi was good out of the gates. Jamie gets them running pretty quickly early on the bit. I don't know how she's going since she's come back. I haven't seen her in the limelight since
she's building her form. Yeah. She's had a couple of winners, and she had a good day on Wednesday, and she's a watch this space. You know, naturally.
Yeah. It's
going to take a while. She had a serious brain injury, so it's going to take some time, and you can just sense the confidence is starting to build. So she's a watch this space, Shane.
That's good, because she's got a lot of talent and she rides very, very well. So it'll be good to see if she comes back. But she's one that's very good out of the gates. But yeah, you do get good jockeys that ride out of the gates very fast, and they like to lead and whatever. And then you get some others that want to ride them quiet or whatever. You know, everyone's a bit different, but it's not easy in the gates when your horse is playing up to try and get them to stand. And I missed the start one year in the Golden Slipper on a horse called Laurie's Lottery, and he couldn't jump, and I was calling out to the starter, and I actually apologised to him after the race. I had to, because when he jumped out, I turned around and I swore at the starter as I jumped out, because he reared in the gates and missed it 3/4 of the length. And I didn't want them to let them go because he wasn't standing right. And after the race, I went in and I said, I'm sorry for screaming, mate, but, you know, you let them go and I wasn't ready. He said, I can't look after everyone all the time. It is a Golden Slipper. But it's not your fault. There's one instance, it's a Golden Slipper, and I know what I've got to do. I'm on the favourite in the Golden Slipper, and I just want to jump first, and he's not standing. I'm calling to the starter. I've got an attendant up with me trying to correct the horse, and he won't correct, and he lets him go. You miss it, and the race is over. So it's not easy for a jockey sometimes.
No, I think from a form perspective, as we close this off, just they deserve a forgive, as long as it's not a habit. But a lovely vision there, and well pointed out from Shane, with the horse Greenwich having his foot off the ground, and as to the reason why. So, yeah, super stuff, Shane.
Yeah, Denfield was very unlucky there. Does he make the Sweeting defeat file?
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar fast buck, smart leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chan.
Grab your pens, punters. Future winners here for Sweeting defeat.
Well, at the end of the season, we didn't have too many because it's the end of the season and a lot of the horses have had enough. But at the start of the season, we double down and we get the chips out. We have quite a few horses to look at. So I've got 5 in total, actually, Richo, to go through. Now, Ruby Sailing.
Terrific.
Hill Strip Fitter, he just, peaked on his run late, I felt, and he's going to be winning a race. Super Sunny Singh, they went steady. He sprinted well. Gee, it was a good run from him, and he had more than 6 months off. I thought that was a terrific run from Super Sunny Singh. Denfield excuses on Wednesday. He was backed into $1.50. I think he'll just be winning a race shortly. He might go up in grade, doesn't matter. And Humble Star was some sort of run with Karis Teton on as well. Back wide, took off early. Gee, he really caught the eye. The horses replay that we're going to look at, and this race rated well, was Beauty Crescent. They sat back. Zach went forward. He led on Supreme Lucky and won it. I thought Beauty Crescent, who won in Ireland a listed race over 1,200. This is a nice horse going forward. Shane, he's going to be all right on the back of this run. He'll strip fit and he'll get a little bit further too.
Yeah, well, what happened with him, Clint? The blinkers went on. He had 2 unplaced runs last year and he went no good. Yeah. But if you had a look with his Irish form, he had blinkers on when he won, and they put the blinkers on. It just improved him immensely. So that's why he went a lot better, Clint. And you're right, he'll be winning soon.
Yeah, so we're going to keep monitoring those. So 5, jump into the Sid file. Do you ever get them out of the Sid file as well, or you just keep them in there?
I usually try to give them, what we try to give them is a couple of runs, because sometimes they don't go in the race that you want them to the next start, and there's nothing worse than the run after that if you drop off and they win at $8 or $10. So I usually give them a couple.
Promotion and demotion out of the Sid file. All right, ladies and gentlemen, all around the world, you know you love it, Genius or Slaughter.
The end across, answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it. Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
We've got the wonderful opportunity of having a Hall of Fame jockey in Shane Dye casting his eye over all the rides in Hong Kong and saying, there's a tick, that's a Genius ride, or a cross there for a Slaughter. And then at the end of the season, we'll be building points for the Idol. Shane, let's start on a positive. Who are the Genius?
There was quite a few. Harmony and Bless. Okay, so Derek rode really well. Now, the good thing about this was he didn't bustle him. There was only 2 horses in this race that could possibly lead. Super Axiom from the inside gate and him. And he didn't try and take him on. He just let him cruise across. Maybe I like the ride because he was my main bet for the night, this horse. Because of the pace in the race, there was no pace, and I felt it was a non-pace track, so it was always going to be suiting him. And he just gave him a beautiful ride throughout the race. He could have lost it early on if he had bustled him too much, and he showed good strength in the straight with the stick in his right hand when he was laying in, and lucky enough he just hung on to win.
And that horse out wide, Rattling Home, who was 3 and 4 deep the trip, Humble Star was one that made our Sid file. Shane, that was quite a good run from that horse in the runner-up slot, but we've had enough of that. You've got some other good rides that you wanted to talk about. You had, obviously, Zach. We saw Zach on Supreme Lucky. Why did you like that ride?
Because last year he made the mistake of going back and not going forward on him, and he would have realised that, and he showed initiative out the gate, and he really bustled him, right? So it was a very good ride, and he controlled the race and won, and that's the only reason he won, because of the ride. Then you got Harmony of Bliss, you got Bowman, who rode 3 winners. He's riding well, and all of them were good rides, so you got to give him points. At Valor on the Golden Scenery, it was a very good ride. He dug him out of the gates, and he put him into a beautiful spot, 5th, right? And he won, and no one can win on this horse. He doesn't win often, as you know, Clint, so he deserves 2 points. Now, Ferraris, he just doesn't get rides. On Wednesday, he had a couple of nice rides, and he gave them beautiful rides, Clint. And I said last season, he's very underrated, and he was riding well. He went from 20 winners 2 seasons ago to 35 last year. The first meeting, he had 3 rides, and they were average. He had 1 chance, which ran 3rd. This weekend, he's got 5 rides. I had a look, and they're very, very average rides. If one of the trainers picks him up and gives him a bit of a chance, he's going to ride a heap of winners. And you've got to remember, he's only 22.
You were singing his praises a bit last year, Shane, as well, and you're right. He was getting plenty of winners home.
And you said he showed a profit, one of the best in Hong Kong, I think, on rides.
Yes.
Because he's not riding favourites. Well, he had a couple of chances on Wednesday night, and he rode them superbly. The horse you tipped your best bet, he gave that a perfect ride. Now
Zach Burton, you took 1 point off.
Hey, what's happened here?
For Baltimore. What happened? Why?
Well, because you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
I'm going to play something with Zach here from the end of the season, and I want you to listen to it.
So suggesting to them that they should be going out there to specifically beat the favourite every time, and that's how they're going to win a race, I think is wrong. And I don't, like I said, I don't subscribe to it. My whole train of thought is working out what the best asset my horse has, working out how I believe the race is going to be run, having a look at where the rail position is, the track bias, and to riding my horse accordingly to give it the best chance to win the race. I don't go out there trying to beat any one horse, and you can't do that in Hong Kong.
Okay, so if you're going to say that, Zach, you've got to do it. Well, I'm going to show you the first race on Wednesday night. Zach went out there to beat one horse. He led and he went very slow. Now, what you've got to remember here is the first 400 metres, there were 4 1,200-metre races, and they walked early in this race. This was the slowest. And Yui dug his out of the gates to go forward, but when the pace came out of the race, which it did, Yui decided to lead. Now, this turned into the fastest 400 metres out of any 1,200-metre race because Zach didn't give up the lead, and he should have and he could have, but I'm not saying it made a difference. He didn't want Yui to get a soft lead and let him go, so he dug up and forced the pace, and it brought them both undone because of it. So what Zach said he doesn't do, he actually did there, and it cost them the race. But I probably might have done the same with Zach's ride. I'm not criticising that. But he said he doesn't do it, and I want to point out he did it there to get Yui beat. So I don't deduct a point, not for because he tried to get the favourite beat, but because he said he doesn't do it, and he did it. So we'll take the point of him for it.
I've got to say this, Rich.
There's no rules in this.
Hey, Shane's got a long memory.
Yeah, I know.
Shane you can see him back there. That was back in June.
Yeah.
He's thought about it, and he must have been thinking, I'm waiting.
First opportunity,
I'm going
to get him like a
It didn't take long, boys. It only took one Happy Valley meeting. I said when he was going on about how I was wrong, I said, all right, I just agreed like I do, and I've got to have evidence to back up that I'm right.
Yeah.
So it only took one Happy Valley meeting to prove I was right.
Right. Well, with the idol...
So he's lost a point.
There you vote. So he goes back to 1. So that's the idol for week 1. And, of course, we will have the leaderboard. So our man behind the scenes, JT, is busy with Richo, each week and plus also end of season. Yes.
Richo, it's actually not for the ride, right? Because I understand what he was doing. He didn't want the favourite who was $2 to get a soft lead. And I understand that, right, with Yui on, who's his main opposition. But he said he doesn't do it. That's what the minus point is for. He said he didn't do it. Well, he did do it.
He will get a right of reply at some point, Zach, on the show. But anyway, he's minus 1.
Well,
no. He lost 1, but he got 2 up
so
the top.
So he got 2 up. So he's back to 1.
He's back to 1.
Okay.
He's still on the leaderboard.
He's still on the board.
So he's on the board, but loose lips have sunk his ship on this occasion. Well done, RS. That's absolutely beautiful to see. And Nicole, talking of Purtons, Nicole Purton on the other side, inside running. Let's get the inside running from the person on the ground in Nicole Purton. Nicole, as always, an absolute pleasure to see you, and give us an update as to what's going on with the feed of Romantic Warrior.
Hey guys, it's nice to be back. Yes, there is an update on the feed. Firstly, the horse galloped last night. I'll touch on that. Danny was happy with how the horse galloped. He said he galloped well. But in regards to the feed, once Danny was notified that the feed would be ready on the 16th and that it would be basically the same feed that the horse eats week in, week out here, he changed Romantic Warrior straight back and the horse's appetite picked up immediately. So that's great news for him.
That is good news because that was the concern. And galloping, what have you made of the gallops and what is Danny saying?
Danny has been... tight-lipped, but he did just inform me he was happy. He's happy with the horse's condition, and he's looking forward to the horse leaving Hong Kong and entering Australia and taking them on down under. So I wish them all the best.
Yeah, he unfortunately missed that key trial, but looks like he's come through that work pretty well. Of course, they're going to be based at Werribee. He's got his whole team there as well, and they're pretty much there the whole time as well. So that's been encouraging news. You certainly got plenty of traction on that story last week, Nicole, with what was going on with the feed.
Yeah, it was good that after Danny was able to air his concerns on the show, Racing Victoria acted really quickly, and it's good news for the whole team. Yeah,
it is fantastic, and certainly from a social media point of view, the clips that we showed of Nicole's interview with Danny absolutely went gangbusters, and it was a great reminder, Nicole, of all the hurdles that are ahead of them. So if he comes here and wins, as we were speaking about last week, by G, he's got to be a very, very special horse. And what we know now is that the Hong Kong Jockey Club's working a lot closer with the jockeys now, Nicole, to allow them to come and race in Australia or race around the world, which is great news.
It is. So actually this week, the Jockey Club granted permission to both Zach Purton and Hugh Bowman to ride in Australia in the coming weeks. Firstly, Hugh will partner Lindemann for Chris Waller in the Underwood Stakes at Caulfield on September 23rd. He will return to Hong Kong on the 24th to fulfill his engagements in Hong Kong that day. I actually spoke with Hugh yesterday, and he told me that Lindemann had genuine excuses for his below-par performance first up. I thought he was very courageous over 1,600 metres last start, and I think he profiles extremely well for the Underwood Stakes. Also, as mentioned, Zac Purton will go to ride light infantry in the King Charles Stakes at Randwick on October 14th. He's really looking forward to riding the horse, and he also will return to Hong Kong on the 15th to fulfill his riding engagements here.
And I think
you'll probably be out there in the King Charles. You're going to be in...
Well, I will. I'll be the chaperone. I'll pick Zac up from the airport and drive him in.
He's going to need a driver.
That's my role. I'll put my hat on.
Will you get a trip away, or will Zac make you stay in Hong Kong?
No, I think he'll go by himself that trip, and I might head down there later on in the season, but we'll just see. So, yeah, I'll let him go this one time by himself.
Maybe when light infantry runs in the Cox Plate, with Zac would be riding then.
Yes, so I'll be hoping that the children and I will join him for that trip.
And just give us the logistics, because some people don't understand the logistics. So for Zac, take us through his schedule. If he comes to ride at Randwick with light infantry, when does he arrive and when does he leave?
So because we have races here on a Wednesday night, he can't make I think the last race is just before 11 or something. So he obviously can't make that last flight. So he'll fly out on Thursday evening, land Friday, do what he has to do that day, and then go to races Saturday morning, hopefully bring home all the trophies, get on the flight that night, which I believe is at like 10 p.m. And then he lands here about 5 a.m. on Sunday morning, and then comes home, has a quick rest, gets up, does his work, and then heads off to the races all day on Sunday. So it's quite a lot for the jockeys. I never understood it until I did a quick flight recently, and it knocked me sideways. So credit to the boys who are able to ride their Saturday, fly out, turn up Sunday, and be on their game. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
And the key is whether or not you can sleep on the plane. Is Zac a good sleeper?
You can sleep when you're up the front. So yes,
I just lobbed it up and you hit it straight over the net.
But hey, Nicole, it's a good thing. I mean, we heard last year with Zac in terms of what he was thinking of travelling, etc. So I presume him and Hugh and other riders for that matter, I mean, their ability and flexibility the club have now afforded them.
That's great.
It's great for world racing, really, and it's probably invigorating in many ways.
It is. I mean, travelling now is just nice anyway, let alone to be able to travel home. And, if the right opportunity presents, of course, it's great to be able to take that with both hands. So it was actually really nice when he rode Artorias and Communist last season. That was refreshing and exciting, and hopefully he can get a few more winners coming up this season.
Don't say I haven't got your driver sorted out, Nicole. He's all here. He's ready to go.
I'm ready to pick him up, and I'll sit in the front. He can sit in the back.
Oh, he'd love that. Yeah, he doesn't ride up the front. He definitely likes to be driven.
We might just put a camera in there while I'm just being Jeeves up the front. That could be a bit of fun. Nicole, as always, thanks for your great contribution, and look forward to seeing you in person maybe next month.
Oh, fabulous. I like the sound of that, guys. All right, I'll see you soon.
So Nicole Purton with the Inside Running. All right, we're going to have a quick break because we've got a star power guest, and Vincent Ho is about to join. Our star guest is certainly a star and makes Hong Kong racing all the better when he returns. He's back from injury. His name is Vincent Ho. He joins us now. And Vincent, thanks for joining us yet again. And hallelujah, you are back. How are you feeling?
Hi, guys. I'm grateful to be here, and I feel good. It's been 6.5 weeks out, and so far I felt good on the horses. and ready to rock and roll.
Vincent, for those who don't know, just briefly run us through what happened. You were riding in the off-season, you were planning on riding in Japan and England, and then obviously in Japan your plans took the wrong turn.
Yeah, so that was the second week of the Hong Kong off-season, and I was riding. That was the second weekend in Japan. So my plan was after that weekend, I will be flying to UK and Goodwood, and then the Sugar Cup the next week. But of course, just a day before, had a bad accident. I was in Niigata race course on the third, and coming to the home straight, two horses on the inside just basically lose control and crash to a horse inside me, and the horse inside me bumped into my horse. So my horse totally lost balance from the two horses' momentum onto mine, and we fell together. And I sustained a T5 complex fractured, also rib fractured. Lose consciousness for about 10 minutes, but I'm glad it's just the hardware that it's injured. All the internal stuff is fine, so still grateful for that, because it could be a lot worse.
How was the recovery? Hard work, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. Been doing a lot of treatments. The Jockey Club and their team, the medical team, did amazing jobs. And also I've been to Switzerland, in Geneva. There's a great hospital for athletes to rehab. So I've been there, and they have provided amazing service as well. And now I felt good and be able to ride again. So yeah, I'm just happy to be back on horses, of course. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And you've got 4 rides coming up. But before we talk about the 4 rides on Sunday, how's the champ, Golden 60?
Yeah, it's good. He's happy to see me. Haven't seen him for a while. And the first day I went back, he's a lot kinder than he used to be.
He's got into a better mood, Vincent, maybe because he saw you. But interesting, this year you're going first up into the Hong Kong Mile. So was there any reason for a change in strategy? Because normally he'd had a similar break, like it was sort of first up into the mile trial and then second up into the mile in December. Was there any reason for the slightly different program this season?
We always found that he feels better when he runs fresh.
Right.
The second run sometimes can be a little bit off, but the third one he come back. But after a break, in a Group 2 in November, or even in a Champions Mile, he had a long break, and he always come back strong, and he felt good. So there's no harm for him to come back straight away to the HKIR. Just have to, of course, he's 8 now, and we have to make sure he's fit and ready for the race. Then there's no problem for him.
Vincent, since you've been back, have you been on his back riding track work any mornings?
No, not yet. Probably next month, because he only started to do a little bit of pace work at the moment. So it will take some time. But yeah, I plan to be on him probably next month.
Hey Shane, just thinking about Vincent on Sunday, in your experience, when you come back from an injury and a long layoff, what are you looking for when you first return to a race ride?
A winner, very fast. And actually, Vincent's got good rides, so he should find a winner. And actually, the first race is 1,000 metres, so you can't wish for anything better. A small field up the straight. 1,000 metres, and he's on a very good chance. And Dream Warrior, a Dream Winner, I should say. Vincent, you must think a lot of this horse.
Yeah, last season we only saw his raw ability, and he also ran a very good time. And this season, when I sat on him yesterday, he still felt very raw. So let's see how much he improved. He need more experience throughout the races or trials to help him a bit.
The track spies tell me, Vincent, as well, that obviously you weren't there that morning, but was he a little difficult getting onto the track? And is that some of the issues with him when you're talking about his, the mental side of it with Dream Winner? He's obviously loaded with ability, but just not doing things right?
When he's on track, he's doing things right. But he's just very baby. But going to the track, sometimes he can just stood there and look around instead of focusing. But once he is on the track, galloping, he's fine.
Okay.
Like walking out, then sometimes he can just stood there and look around. Like after the race last season, he wanted to go home instead of coming to take the winning.
Yes.
Which is never ideal.
No. But hey, you got some nice rides on the card as well. I know Shane will probably ask you, Vincent, outside of Dream Winner, who he's going to be a short price favourite. One horse that I quite fancy on the day is Co-Partner Ambition. He's a horse that Danny Shum hasn't. He got him last season, and you've always had a little bit to do with him. How did you think he could run?
I always think he's a nice horse, and I prefer to ride him a bit quiet. Like the season before, he won twice, also from the back, and that is his best runs. Sometimes when he was with Mr. Cruz, sometimes he went forward and he didn't really sustain the run. He always jumped fast, but I never think he's a horse that, going to ride up in speed. It's better off to relax a bit. And he trial, of course, there's no speed at the trial, and he was leading and he finished second. And he was, it seems a little bit weakened off, but for me, if I, ride him a little bit quieter, doesn't have to be at the back, but wherever he's comfy, but not up in speed, I think he will produce a better run.
And just quickly, I know Shane will want to know about this one. Shane, Joyful Fighter, is it? Or sorry, Joyful Hunter.
Nice horse.
He's 2 from 2, and you trolled him recently, Vincent. He's very similar to Dream Winner. He looks quite an exciting prospect.
Yeah, for me, it's very exciting because he's 4 and he felt like he can be running a bit longer. Sha Tin, Francis' team, and I think it will shoot him because he takes time to pick up. So I think Sha Tin should shoot him better, and if he progress well, hopefully he can be in the 4-year-old series this year.
And Vincent, exciting news for you and all the other jockeys in the rooms in Hong Kong. Have you heard that Shane Dye is giving points each and every week for performances, pluses and minuses, and we've named it the Idol. You'd be a magnificent winner of it.
Oh, really?
Good luck. That's all I can suggest.
Yeah, we're gonna tally it up through the season, Vincent. So hopefully you can get lots of points there. And he's taken 1 point off Zach this week, so you've got to keep the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, that's why I sort of take my time to recover well and be back on the horse. And only at the moment I'm not gonna book full card of rides because I'll take my time to be 100%. But of course, I have certain fitness at the moment, and I can be more selective to ride good horses at the moment. And hopefully, won't let anyone down.
Oh, I love
Vincent, you rode very, very well last year, and you know that. You went to another level, and you were thinking in races, which is great. You've done a great job.
Thank you, Shane.
Well, good luck, Vincent. We're stoked to see you return. Yep. Good luck on Sunday. Good luck with the champ, and we look forward to seeing lots of votes coming your way in the Idol contest from Shane Dye. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Analysing the card on Sunday, and Hutch, race number 8 is where we start. Your prices here.
Yeah, an interesting race, and some of these races we're covering today are pretty difficult. Might be minor changes on the day, like I said, depending on conditions and once there's some liquidity in the market, which we take note of. But Ka Ying Warrior on top for me, the debutant, really interesting newcomer. We'll have a look at his trial in a moment. I've got him favourite. Dream Pursuer, Hugh Bowman on board, nicely drawn for a change. He's also trial well and can improve. Didn't mind his last run last season. I give on the backup from winning last week, but he is up in class, and Pins Prince will find this a bit easier. I've got him in the market as well. But Ka Ying Warrior is the interesting runner here. Now, he was scratched a couple of times last season with some different issues. He had a blood abnormality at the end of the season. He ran in December. There were some problems there. He started $5. He was well backed. He was never really in the hunt and basically finished tailed off. But this is a recent trial from him under very little pressure. The time was okay, but you can see he just came through his paces really nicely. Now, Zach's done a lot of work with this horse. He obviously feels that there's something to work with, and you can see that. I wanted to have a look as well, Richo, what the pedigree would tell us in terms of what we'll use.
This is a 1,200 metre race?
1,200 metre race. He was due to run in another 1,000 metre race, which he basically never took part in. And according to Group 1 Goldmine, which is good friends of the show, we can see here 1,200 metres, right in his wheelhouse, 1,100 metres. That's what we're dealing with. And, I am a big fan, of course, of the Written Tycoons, and no surprise to see him. This is right in his wheelhouse with that cross. So he ticks that box from the Group 1 Goldmine point of view. But Shane, he is the key runner here. I've got him marked the favourite on the back of his trials, which have been pretty good, both that one this season and some of those from last season.
I've got him on top. The thing is, he's got gate 1, and with Zach on, he's going to get a perfect run in the race. He's looked very good in trials, and when he trials, he always runs time, which is a good sign. His only run last year was no good because he missed the start and he had problems, and you just forget it. So you got to gamble. So I've got him on top. One horse you missed out there that could run a race is Sunlight Power. He went very well first up last year, and his second up run was good. And his third run, he went no good, but he had excuses, and he trialled the other day and ran third. He'll get back a bit, he'll run on. And, of course, the other couple you mentioned, I give one in Class 5, but look good. The thing I picked up early on in the season, and you would have probably too, Clint, is on the first 2 meetings, the horses that had two trials on percentages to one trial were a lot better. A lot of horses that had 2 trials had gone really well.
Interesting race. A little difficult to price because obviously Ka Ying Warrior is fresh up, but he's the starting point.
Well, in your top 2 are once again Purton versus Bowman, and that might be a similar theme when we roll over to race number 9 here, because they ride saddle class 1 and 2. Was there one that you're keen on here?
Yeah, well, race 9, I thought this was another really tricky little race, the 9th event, and some competitive chances here. But Co-Partner Ambition, who we heard from Vincent, I love the fact he's going to ride him cold. He's got a great finish on him. I've got him marked a $5 favourite in an open field. Super Winner, we mentioned backing up. Well, he's backing up. He led 3 wide no cover the other day, absolutely bolted in, and he's a horse that has backed up. He's backed up a couple of times in the past, and he actually improves off that. So he's a horse that's right in the game again, and actually here's his win. Now, 1,200 metres shade had never really been his wheelhouse, Super Winner, but he won. He came back with a bang. He won nicely last week, and 1,400, if anything, is better for him. And like I said, if you go through his history, he's backed up twice within a week, and each time he's run super races.
Yeah, he loves 1,400 metres because it's the right distance, because he can roll at the same pace, and it's always hard to run him down. He could get to the front again here and be very hard to run down, Clint. He was impressive last week. He worked 3 wide and he kept going. It was a very strong win. I've definitely got him on top in this race.
Yeah, Super Winner's right in the game. I've got Co-Partner Ambition, a marginal favourite. What I like about Co-Partner Ambition, I think this is a bit of a plan from Danny Shum. They're going 1,400, they're going first up. We heard from Vincent. I mean, his figures from last year are good enough. Vincent's only taking horses that he thinks have got winning chances. That's also real positive. He's got 4 rides. This horse will get back, so you need a track that can run on. There's enough speed, and I think he's better than a lot of this opposition, but Super Winner will be tough to run down.
And also, interestingly, your top 4, you haven't much of a price difference from $5 through to $9 in the top 4.
Yeah, it's a tough race. I'd be interested to see what the market does. River Views is another one that can go forward. And I think the horse up the top there, Owner's Praiser, he's one that'll be pretty short with Zach on. I'm not convinced about him, Shane, Owner's Praise. The winkers go on. I think the market might be behind him more than I want to be.
Yeah, he raced well last season, of course. He's got gate 1, but he hasn't got natural gate speed. He'll probably be racing midfield fence, so it all depends where they're coming from. He's had 2 trials, which is a bonus, Clint, this time in, and he went all right. He trialled. The thing with him is, if you remember last season, he went really well first up. It was a huge run.
Yep.
And if he repeats that, he's not going to be far away. It was at Happy Valley, I think, and it was 1,200 metres. He got back last in storm time. So he's 1,400 now, which suits, not 1,200. His 2 trials have been okay. They were very easy trials. He's definitely not the worst because he is also coming back to Class 4. His last 2 runs were in Class 3, and he didn't quite measure up. He didn't go bad, but he didn't go as well as he was in Class 4. So he's got the class drop.
And we get to race number 10. How did you line these up?
This is another tough one to finish the card with, but I think Hugh Bowman's got a good chance here on a horse that ended last campaign in winning form, and that was Superb Boy. I've marked him favourite. Look, it was his first go at 1,400, and I think whilst he had the pattern of the day in his favour, he ran well. So I've got him on top. E-Legend was consistent last season. Looks a nice ride for Brenton Avdulla. He's drawn gate 1. He'll get a good run. And Massive Action, I thought, trialled nicely. He's a difficult one. He's a little bit of a boom or bust type horse, but he's another one that can go forward. Now, here's the win from Superb Boy last season. Vincent Ho actually rode this horse last season. Maybe the fact that he's not riding him is a guide in itself. Who knows? But I didn't mind the performance. It rated well with me. Like I said, the pattern of the night was a little bit on pace, but it was still a strong performance, Shane, and I felt that he'd map similarly here. He could go forward, give himself every opportunity to sort of go back-to-back.
Yeah, I've got Massive Action on top. He's very well weighted. He's only got 115 pounds with the kit on. He's got gate 10, so he's got one of the outside gates, which I like because he can take his time and go to the front instead of having to bustle from an inside gate. He trialled well, but last season he more or less disappointed most of the season. But if he finds the front and it's an on-pace track, which we don't know until the day, he's going to be hard to run down that horse with 115. I think it's an open race and it's not a very strong race. Like, you haven't got promising horses in it like we sometimes see. So, look, to me it all depends how this track's racing, whether I'd back a horse like that. If it's an on-pace track, I'm backing him. If they're coming from off the pace, I'm not backing him.
And just on that note, this meeting last year was a fair track, actually, good spread of winners. But we have had different weather, and we had a different opening meeting with a little bit of rain about. So how
a little bit of rain
about. So how that affects or impacts it this week, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I'm going to take that trio because they're named after us, those horses. Superb Boy named after you, E-Legend named after Shane, and I suppose I'm stuck with Massive Action.
Did you have a Massive Action, or was it a short one?
Well, maybe Lightning Bolt, number 7. I might try.
A Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
Richo, I was talking to your wife one day, and he said, "There's Lightning Bolt." She said, "There's Lightning Bolt." I didn't know which way to take it.
Take it in the poor way, I can assure you of that. So there's 3 races that we're keen to play in, and there's some assessments. And, of course, a reminder for everyone, Hutchie's Honkers, tune in around lunchtime Australian time for all the assessments, each and every race, and make sure you subscribe away and enjoy the profits that come your way, and a lot of fun as well. Tell us who's going to be the best.
we're going to get stuck into it. It's an interesting day. I've got my best early in the card. Race number 1, I thought Self Improvement could win. Light his trial, smaller field. I think Zach's eyed him off after some good runs from last season. He won't be much of a price, but I think he'll be tough to beat. So he looks, I think, a reasonably safe play early in the day. And outside of him, I actually like Co-Partner Ambition. I thought with Vincent, I'm suggesting a Quinella with a couple of those horses on screen. One of them actually is the toppy we spoke of, Owner's Praise, and I've got the other horses, Super Winner, mentioned in there in River Views. And I'm definitely going to have something on Dream Pursuer if he, I think he'll be a right price. I'm not sure with Car Ying Warrior what quote he'll come up, Richo, but I'm going to probably back both Bowman and Purton in the 8th.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What about you, Hall of Famer?
I'm going to go to the hardest race of the day.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? Race 7, Greenwich. This is a really good race. There's nice horses. You got Dragon's Luck going good. You got even Super Fortune goes all right. Lucky Encounter's a promising horse, and of course we spoke about him. Joyful Hunters looked really good. Now, last season, Greenwich improved first to second run. He's backing up 7 days from last week. He drops from 135 pounds class 4 to class 3, 120 pounds. And if he reproduces that run with the weight drop second up where he was better last week and being fitter, I think he'll run a race. And they can back Lucky Encounter here. They could back Joyful Hunter, so he might be the right price. It's hard to say. Even Fun and Glory won last start well. So that's a really good race, that, Clint. Nice race.
It is, and when you showed that vision early in the show about him just missing the kick, that was just a one-off show, and you're happy to say, well, that was just a bit unlucky. I'm happy to take stick with him. That the chances are that he'll jump out on terms.
The chances are he'll jump on terms, but he can always do that. He did it last start, but he didn't do that last year when he led and won, of course. He jumped, went straight to the front and won. So you're hoping he doesn't do it, but, any horse can do that at any time.
Okay, so that sounds a betting plan. Those selections and a lot more once you subscribe to Hutchie's Honkers, and hopefully you enjoyed the show and you're watching it on 7plus or wherever you're watching it around the world. RS, as always, an absolute pleasure to see you, my friend.
Thanks, mate. I'll see you later. Have a great weekend. You in Sydney tomorrow or not?
No, I'm in Melbourne. Looking forward to Mackay Diva Stakes Day. She was some sort of horse, wasn't she?
Superstar champion, 3 Melbourne Cups in a row. I'm not going to see that again in my lifetime.
No, that's a great point. And also you add in Australian Cups and Tankards and also that big one in a Cox Plate. So that's Mackay Diva Stakes Day, the legend that is honoured in Australia. Hutch, good punting on Sunday.
Good luck to everyone, and hopefully we get lots of winners.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching the Triple Trio.